Hello there, welcome back to another episode of We Have Been Watching Podcast, our Star Wars special read-along with you. I am the...
read-along.
The read-along episode. I am the Jim Henson Yoda, and I'm here with CGI Yoda. It's Rob. Hello, Rob.
Thank you.
How you doing?
I do take that as an insult because when I was watching this, my wife did actually say, her only passing comment was, that puppet actually looks loads better than the CGI one.
Oh, a million times better, and we'll get onto that in a minute. Before we start, Rob, it's funny you say that. I remember listening to, I think it was the Cinephiles podcast, and they talked about Empire Strikes Back. And they said during the filming, obviously all the sets done in a certain way, so that, you know, they're 6 foot off the floor, so everyone's underneath doing Yoda. And they said it was really weird because once they started filming, and even when Yoda Puppet was being worked on, everyone actually kind of addressed him as if he was really alive and there.
Apparently, people do the same thing when they used to go on the Muppet Show.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
That they're in between takes and people are just treating Kermit like Kermit's a person.
Oh, I love it. So, Rob, this is arguably the best Star Wars film ever. Now, I haven't watched this for, I'm going to say 20 years. It probably is longer. It's
really?
Yeah.
I reckon it's about 3 for me.
It's a long, long, long time. And I remember saying to you, oh no, A New Hope was my favourite and blah, blah, blah and all that. So, let's get into it. So, starts off and we've got the Hoth planet attack, right?
Well, even before the attack, I mean, don't you think it's a very slow first 20 minutes?
Well,
so there's no because the first 20 minutes is just them scouting around.
Yes.
Luke getting knocked off.
Yes.
Oh no, is he going to survive the night?
Yeah.
Han going out, saving him. Snow speed is finding them, taking them back. Then seeing about a probe droid to come, and maybe we need to get out of this place. We've been rumbled. That's like the first 25 minutes of the film, really. No Darth Vader in those first 20 minutes, really.
Did you notice? The other week,
it's just them in their Hoth base.
You know, the other week we spoke about the was it on our Rogue One episode, the shadow going over the top of a Star Destroyer. That's in this, isn't it? That's in Empire, and I was like, oh, okay. So it has been done before.
It's cool because you've seen Star Destroyers as massive, and then you see something overshadowing a Star Destroyer. I think that's quite cool in this one when they do that.
I don't really know where to start with this, Rob, because there are so many iconic scenes and things in our history. Tauntauns, stop motion tauntauns. What do you think of stop motion nowadays?
Okay, so you're aware. Oh, that's a little model then, but it keeps it at distances. It's really only in the long shot, so I think it's okay.
I loved it, and the very fact that I even knew it was stop motion, it kind of endeared it to me. I mean, I love all these old films like Jack the Giant Slayer and the Sinbad films, and there's things like where he kills the tauntaun falls over, doesn't it? It's the one he uses to save Luke, and it falls over in a kind of fairly stop motion-y kind of way, and I just thought, this is really, really good. I love the sound tauntauns make, by the way. All these things, I was getting a lot of memory, nostalgia on this.
What's interesting with this, I'm seeing things different watching it in order back to back every week like this. The end of New Hope, they're all cheesy, smiling, with their lovely combed 70s hair that's so neat, and medals, and it's hey, haven't we done well? But haven't we done well? And then the start of this one, it's like, no, they're on the run. Let's not forget. Let's not forget that there's a small rebellion compared to the size of the Empire, and they're on the run, and they're on the back step all the way through this film.
So, right at the start of this film, I jumped him. Are you aware of that Leonardo DiCaprio meme from?
The pointing from a chair.
Sitting up and pointing at it. I did that because I was like, Jesus Christ, 3PO does have a silver leg. Like, it's much, much more noticeable. I don't know why I never knew this. I'm still saying this is a George Lucas rehash because I've lived my whole life without knowing this. Did you?
One of the things I've sort of picked up in these first 20 minutes as well is there's so much banter with Han and Chewie, and him moaning at Chewie all the time and taking the mick out of him. He's really quite mean to him, but it's good because it's like they've obviously been on these little adventures together in the gaps in between the films, and since we've seen them in the Solo movie.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I wrote in my notes, he's absolutely vile to C-3PO all the way through. He just like he's nasty, mean.
Oh, telling him to shut up and get out of the way.
Get out of the way. Get stuff. So we have the attack on Hoth again. Well, stop motion AT-ATs. Yeah.
Well, before that, I made a note. Gross kisses sister.
Yes, I know. So I was
did they must have? Well, I don't know actually. I guess I must have read this and forgotten it, because I don't know in the making ofs. Yoda does later say, "Is there any hope?" No, there is another. So at this point, did George Lucas already know that Luke was going to be Leia's brother?
Have you heard?
So,
yeah, go on.
If so, it's a bit weird.
Have you heard I'm going to say it's truth, I don't know, but the story of, just fast forward into the big reveal to Vader. Apparently, George Lucas told Mark Hamill and said, "You got to react because you just said he's my father." He told Dave Prowse to say, "I killed
Something
your
else.
father."
Yes, I've heard that.
And then James Earl Jones said, "Do you reckon it was just need to know things?" And then on the day of shooting, he drops that in.
I like those scenes because I think there's a good chemistry between Han and Leia in those scenes when he's like, when he storms off and she's following him, and they have a little bit of it, and he's like going, come on, and he's like, what, you miss me, don't you? She's like, I don't know what you're on about. I think that between them's good. Him bantering with Chewie is good.
I'd forgotten how lovely Carrie Fisher was. She's just wonderful in this.
So that reintroduction to all the characters and their chemistry between them, I was enjoying for those first 20 minutes. Then the AT-ATs turning up.
Yeah.
They still look. I still think they look really good.
They do look great. It's lots and lots of stop motion, lots and lots of miniatures. And there's several scenes where you're like, that's just a miniature, but it still works.
I do feel that the rebels are in trouble. I do feel like, oh my god, not like Luke's going to save the day, because Dak in the back of his ship gets shot, then he crash lands. I'll tell you what, Wedge is the unsung hero, because Wedge was in the last one. Wedge survived the Death Star in the last film. Then he takes out an AT-AT in this one. Good old Wedge.
Do you reckon there's some Wedge fan fiction out there, or maybe even canon fiction? I don't know.
You know about his relation. You know about the family connection to Ewan, don't you?
No. Yes, it's his uncle.
It's Dennis Lawson's. Yeah, Ewan McGregor's.
Yeah.
Have you noticed that? Talking about force pinching.
Yes.
He does some choking, and you don't see him doing his little pinch with his fingers.
No.
Does he? He's sitting there, and he just sort of turns around, and because they've pulled the ship's come out too quickly, hasn't it? And so allowed the rebellion to start evacuation.
And
so he spins around on his chair, and he gets him on the screen, and it's that actor out of
Grange
Mr. Bronson
Hill.
from Grange Hill.
Grange Hill, yeah.
And what's his range for his force choking?
I don't think there is. So I don't think there is a range, but during that,
he doesn't use his because he doesn't, without using his fingers, he's got quite a range there to go. If he's on another ship and he's managed to choke him, that's pretty impressive.
Has he got better since A New Hope? Has his force? It's a bit like. Do you remember in the X-Men comics? Apparently, Nightcrawler can teleport to anywhere he has been before, or anywhere he can see.
Yeah.
So is this that thing, like you couldn't kill him without seeing him, but he could get him up on the screen? My wife said to me, I tell you what, Vader must be a nightmare for HR, because he is killing his stuff left, right, centre.
I was thinking, like, like if you've got your annual review with your managers, and they're saying things like, there's a promotion come up for you to be Admiral on Darth Vader's ship, and I'll be like, no, I'm okay where I am back at head office in Slough. I'm fine. It's okay.
Yeah, they're getting through stuff like. Just stepping back a minute, when they I forgot to mention this right at the start, when they lock down the Hoth base and they say, Luke is still out there, and Chewie lets out this sort of cry, doesn't he? And sort of bangs. I tell you what, the acting and sound effects just fabulous. It really got me.
Yeah, I mean, again, how much of this is just projecting on it, I don't know.
Maybe.
But I just love Chewie in this, and I love R2 and C-3PO in this, and even with R2, because I was thinking, why do I care so much for Yoda? He's a puppet. Then I thought, hang on a minute, what about R2? R2's got personality. He's just a dustbin with a spinning head.
And actually, C-3PO was much more reserved to get in this. I don't know what he's going to be like in Return of the Jedi. We'll have to see.
He has a few more hissy fit moments, doesn't he, in this one?
But not as bad. And again, I'm just going to be jumping all over the place here.
No silly comedy bits for him.
Exactly. So you know the bit when he gets ripped apart.
Yeah.
In prequels, you probably would have gone, "Oh, I'm all in bits" or something. You'd be like,
I'm in pieces.
You'd be like, "Oh God." There's a bit.
Chewbacca, I'm feeling harmless. Yes. They would have done. It would have been awful.
There's a bit I absolutely loved, and it's so I can't remember exactly. It's quite in the early start, and Vader says to his team, "Do not let these ships get away." And get after
in the asteroids. Yeah.
I think it's for and there's a bit where Vader is talking to his newly promoted admiral, and then he says, he turns around, he says, "General Veers, get your men ready." And this guy's really close to him. Do you know the scene I mean? He turns around and Vader, and he's like, if you've ever had that when someone's perhaps you've been talking to someone, you turn around, they're really close to you. You'll have to go back and look at it, and it's obviously to fit in that shot, like they've done it. But Vader turns around, and obviously imagine him going, "Oh," and like accidentally force choking him to death.
Yeah, probably just say personal space. Back up.
Back up.
I know what you mean. So, the other note I made round about this point of the thing, because all the AT-AT stuff in this, all the Hoth stuff,
fabulous,
brilliant.
Yeah.
And then, why I've got such a thing for the bounty hunters. Oh my God, they are so brilliant. And to be honest, it's really hard to spot Dengar in this film.
I don't even know who that is.
Because you see them standing in, and it's like a low shot, isn't it?
You see their feet. What's Is he Bosk? Is it? You see
Bosk, and he growls or something, says something. So you see a shot of Bosk, you see Boba.
Yeah.
Vader moves to the right, and you see looks like a C-3PO with like a fly bug head on him.
Yes.
That's Forlom.
Right.
Next to him is like another alien guy who's wearing like brown clothes, and that's Zuckuss. But when the figures came out, they were named wrong way round. Zuckuss and Forlom. Yeah. You see IG-88, okay.
Yeah.
And then Dengar is the one that's got all the bandages and looks like brown bits of Stormtrooper outfit on. He's got like a big backpack on his finger.
I'll have to have a look at that.
And you barely see Dengar. In the Clone Wars cartoons, Dengar's voiced by Simon Pegg, actually.
Oh, is he? Oh.
Yeah.
That's interesting to know.
But it's interesting because these characters that nowadays, like if my kids were saying, I want a figure of this character that's in a film for half a second, be like, get out of it, what a waste of time, they're ripping you off. But I couldn't wait to get a full set of bounty hunter figures.
And I love the fact of whatever the admiral is like, "Oh, bounty hunter scum." And then Vader's saying to them, "I want them back alive." No messing around.
No disintegrations.
I mean it this time. So of course we've got the fantastic asteroid scene. I've had this conversation with our friend of the show, Bex. Hello, Bex.
Is that Bex?
It is.
Bex.
With a B.
Yeah.
About the making of this. So you've got miniatures. You've got. I imagine hanging from the ceiling, asteroids and bits
model making
and bobs.
Stuff. It looks good.
It's absolutely fantastic. Loved all that, and at the same time we've got Luke going off to Dagobah. It's obviously a set, but it was wonderful.
There's snakes around. There's all the mist, and then technically I was thinking, you got swampy, you've got water pools everywhere. Yeah, I know it would have been on a race set for the puppeteers as well. So there's all that sort of stuff. Things are a little bit dark. I mean, New Hope is very bright, especially you're on the sandy planet, obviously, so everything's bright, and then everything the Death Star is all very monochrome and bright. And in this, everything's shadowier. Even like in the Hoth base, it's shadowy. Then you got the Dagobah, which is really shadowy. And again, it's like the sort of colour palettes of each scenes and location are distinct.
I remember this film being slower But on this rewatching, I didn't find that at all. I thought, we got half.
Doesn't drag.
Yeah, Vader's chopping people up. We're off now. We've done a runner. We're up Dagobah. I heard a thing about the fact that it was a discussion, probably on the Cinephiles again, saying when he first meets Yoda, obviously Yoda's going a bit crazy, or is he? Because he kind of seriouses himself up a little bit when he reveals who he is. But they said, and I agree with this, Yoda's kind of sussing him out from the first second he meets him. He's like, how does this guy treat a stranger? How does he look after his droid? How's he look after his ship? All of these things.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Is he a good guy? You know, if he'd have said, "Oh, get off my stuff, you crazy little urchin," then he probably would have sent him packing. But
yeah, he's doing like a secret job interview, isn't he, with him?
I don't know why. I had a memory of more Force ghosts. So whether I'm getting this mixed up with Return of the Jedi, because you kind of see Ben for a little while, don't you? But not a huge amount.
It turns up to send a message. There's a scene in Jedi when he's sitting on the log having a longer conversation,
with CGI Anakin Skywalker.
No, there's a scene, it's just Alec Guinness, isn't it? Sitting down, explaining what's been going on. According to her diary book, she was saying. Because there's good chemistry between them. You know the bit when they're on the asteroid.
Yes.
And he goes there, and she's like, my hands are dirty. He's like, my hands are dirty too. What are you scared of, and all that sort of stuff.
Oh yeah.
I think there's sparks between them. I
definitely agree. Yeah. But
I think it still works. It doesn't come across as cheesy or anything like that. I think it seems genuine. Harrison Ford is peak movie star here, isn't he? At the start of the 80s.
Oh, he's
absolute
great,
peak. I thought New Hope was peak cool. But no, this is great in this.
Yeah, forget who shot first. Everybody wants to be Han Solo flying through an asteroid field, don't they?
And also, in watching it in order, obviously we've seen the Millennium Falcon do cool stuff in Solo.
Yes.
But it doesn't really do much in New Hope. But in this one, it's the stuff when he's zipping in and out of the asteroids and the ships spinning and Falcon spinning around, and you've got these tiny little TIE fighters crashing into things that the Millennium Falcon's dodging, all that sort of stuff. So the Falcon's cool in this one as well.
But I also like the fact it does work properly a lot of the time as well. It's had a bit of a battering, hasn't it? And it's trying to do this and trying to that, and then I forget who says it. Oh no, he takes 3PO to the back and says, "Come and speak to the ship. Let's talk."
Yeah.
And I turned to my wife and I went, "That's L337. that isn't there. That isn't there."
Well, scenes like that are a little bit different after watching the prequels and the standalone movies, isn't it?
But it still works for me.
Watching this, yes, it does. I mean, after watching Solo, seeing the fact that there's a computer in there now. That's why you're referring to as a her, mate.
Yeah.
It fits. When they meet Lando, now I'm not quite sure is he meant to have met Lando again between Solo and
I'm
Empire Strikes Back?
Assuming so. I'm assuming that they've got things going on.
But that feels seamless to me. It just felt like, this is the same character I met a couple of films ago. It just feels completely seamless.
The Force speech that Yoda gives, I didn't remember this, and I tell you what, I was absolutely mesmerised.
What Force speech?
When he talks about
the Rock.
The tree,
it's everywhere.
It's in all of. Forget midichlorians. Yeah. It's in all of us. And I kid you not, Rob. Forget the cup of tea test. I forgot I was in the room test. I'm staring at the telly, and I'm like, this crazy little puppet is telling me about interconnectedness.
Yeah.
And I'm laughing it. I'm lapping this up.
This is the bit when I said about, because I was saying that loud, like this puppet still looks so good, and my wife said, "Well, it looks, this is loads better than the CGI version of it." And it's funny, isn't it? Because, Kermit's like Kermit the Frog is even more of an extreme example of it, because if you think of what motion is going into Kermit, it's just a hand opening and closing, isn't it? Because the eyes don't even move on the Muppet. So really, it's a slightly better Muppet with a little bit of eye movement, a little bit twitching in his ears. But it's the voice acting, the lighting, the quality of the puppet. When you see him again, and he's been all bonkers and stuff like that, and he's being annoying, and Luke's like, "Oh, you're making a mess," and there's a bit when he's arguing with R2D2 going, mine, and he's hitting him with a stick.
Whacking him with a stick.
And that's fun watching it now, knowing who he is. So I thought, well, I always thought you should watch them in release order, really. But watching it like this, knowing, we know who he is really, and Luke doesn't know, and that's interesting to watch. And even when he's like, Yoda says that bit about, he says, "I'm not scared." He's like, "You will be."
Oh yeah,
it looks all scary all of a sudden.
He's world weary, isn't he? You know, he's been around a bit like Ben, maybe. They spent a lot of they were big, respected Jedi masters. Whatever. I know Ben was a bit younger, or Obi-Wan, and they've lived in solitude now for X amount of time.
And he's not prepared to just throw everything at, like, oh, we've got a chance here with Luke. He's a bit reticent. He's just like, well, I don't think we should just throw this kid out there if he's going to get killed or turn to the dark side. I'm not sure. I'm not sure
we did that
he
once
is.
With Anakin, didn't we? Kind of.
So that sort of stuff is interesting.
Were any of the Dagobah scenes, I'm going to say ruined, but I actually mean in a good way, by that Seagulls "Stop It Now" song? Because I love that. Do you know the one?
No.
Do you not know Seagulls "Stop It Now"?
No.
Oh my God! Right, listeners, if you haven't watched it, Rob, I'm going to send it on YouTube. I've got the song on Spotify. I bought the song on Spotify. I think it's the Dagobah scene and the training scene, and there's a bit where he goes, "Run, run, run, jump. I can be your backpack while you jump," and he's talking about having Yoda on his back. It's really funny. It's like a bad lip reading thing. And it's a song. It's great. It's wonderful. I'll send it to you in a moment. So, but you'll think about that. So, yeah, we go from there. Of course, we've seen all these things a million times since. But imagine the first time seeing the Millennium Falcon flipping over, sticking to the back of that Star Destroyer, and then hiding in all the trash. That was cool. That was so good.
Yeah, and then I like seeing it when they fly off, and then you don't notice it first. Slave One's there.
Yes.
And then Slave One just sort of
easy.
follows.
You're not allowed to call it Slave One anymore. Whatever it's called.
Boba Fett's spaceship.
I also like that thing of, we know where, I forget which one of the Empire's commanders walks in, and he goes to speak to Vader, and he sees him from behind, and he has having his helmet put on. He's got sickly white skin, hasn't he? And he's all horrible and burnt.
Yeah.
It's a little, for me, it's a little touch of, I don't know if humanity is the right word, or vulnerability, maybe. It's showing a sympathetic side to him, maybe a little.
Yeah, it's just it's just kind of reminding you that it's a human under there. And again, at the time, we wouldn't have known that, would we? Because
no, it's the first time.
You don't know what he's like inside. So, yeah, watching it in release order, that would have been super cool, because you just see the back of his head of the scar, and you're left to imagine, well, is he a human?
Is he a robot?
What's this all about?
Yeah. We spoke in our last episode about the battle between Obi-Wan and Vader, and said it was a little bit slow and a little bit stilted. In this, I feel Vader is peak Vader, isn't he? He's killing off his stuff. He's chopping people up.
I know with like this, me reading the in-between comics and stuff like that, because the films have overtaken me on the comics now, because there's a load of comics to read between New Hope and Empire.
Yeah.
But in terms of a fighter, and it can take out squads of people. So you think, well, he could have taken out Luke a bit earlier, but because he knows it's his son, he doesn't want to kill him. He doesn't want to wipe him out, does he? So I think Vader's holding back a little bit.
I think you're right. I think he's. Well, yeah. The reveal is a little bit too easy in a way, isn't it? But it kind of, he's utter. What I also like is him bending a knee to the Emperor. I was like, weirdly, up until this point, you've seen Grand Moff Tarkin give him a little bit of grief, but normally Vader doesn't bow down to anyone. But actually, in this, he's got his boss.
Actually, this is now the comics have given this an interesting twist, because in the comics, this is the official, continuity comics. Yeah, so he's sending people out to try and find, and this is where he hires Black Chrysanthemum and Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Boba Fett goes to Obi-Wan's house on Tatooine. They're trying to track down who's this rebel that blew up the Death Star. and Luke does encounter Vader briefly, and Vader figures out that there's this kid called Skywalker, and in that moment he's obviously, shocked and surprised because he's got a son,
right?
But also it kind of flashes to the scene at the end of Revenge of the Sith that he's been lied to, because the Emperor basically says, when he says what happened to Padme, and he says, Padme died, so he's realised that he has been
manipulated.
There's always that thing there, thinking he's open to stabbing his boss in the back because his boss has lied to him. And that's interesting knowing that now, and you see that scene when he says about, it's like he's telling him it's about a Skywalker. Vader, I interpret it as he's just playing it cool. He kind of knows it already. And
I see. He's playing his cards close to his chest. Yeah. Cloud City looks great, doesn't it? That was better than I remember.
There's a few CGI special edition extra windows and things.
Yeah, and aren't there more people outside when Lando gives that sort of speech? But again,
time to evacuate.
Great looking city. Great. I love the. I forget. Oh, that's right. So they got that. He calls them to dinner, doesn't he? And he says, "Come and have dinner with us." And then, of course, he set them up, hasn't he?
Cool, that bit is.
Great bit there with the blaster.
Every other Star Wars film that we've talked through, we've just ripped it to pieces.
I know. I was thinking just this, and all of that.
I've got one fault with this film.
Go on.
And it's coming up around this part of the film. Up to now, no faults. The only fault is, Chewie brings C-3PO and he's all in pieces.
Yes. His hand's too hairy to fix all that. Yeah.
And Lando comes in. He's like, got any problems with the droid? And they go, no problem. And they go wandering off, don't they? Just before that dinner sequence bit where Vader's there. Why aren't they, worried straight away?
Yeah, wait a minute. Our droid has been absolutely...
C-3PO was behind us a second ago, and now all of a sudden he's in pieces. And she's like saying, I don't trust him. And Han's like, well, I don't trust him either. So let's keep aware. Let's watch our backs and stuff. But C-3PO's just been blasted to pieces. Why aren't they confronting Lando and saying and realising this is not a safe place to be?
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute. It's like...
That seems weird to me. That they're just
what have you done to our... Yeah, what have you done to our droid?
Yeah, got any problems with your droid? No problem. He's like, I'm not going to tell you. And they just leave Chewie to sort it out. They don't really think about it. That's proper suspicious.
I don't know what order I've got it in here, but I love the scene. Again, it's Vader's. It's obviously James Earl Jones acting as the best here, where Lando says, "No, wait a minute. You said this and you said that," and
he keeps changing it.
And he says to him, I've written it down. He says, "Perhaps you feel you're being treated unfairly," and everything in that sentence was like, this can get a lot worse for you. And he's like, okay.
He does it twice, doesn't he? Because he does it when they're going into the elevator.
Yes.
And Lando's like, this deal's getting worse all the time. And then after the frozen Han, they do it again, don't they? Because they then say about taking Chewie and Leia to Vader's ship, and he's like, "What? You've changed the deal again?"
I love it when they say, "Oh yeah, come on, we're going to test out the carbonite freezing thing. We'll try it out on Han first." And then Boba Fett's like, "Wait a minute, that's my bounty. If Jabba's put me on," he's like, "You will be compensated for your losses." And I was like, "That's good. That's good."
Because Vader's like super efficient, isn't he? I want to catch that kid.
Yeah, I'm having him.
This does follow on from that some of those comics really nicely. This stuff where he's just on a mission. I'm getting my kid back.
There's nothing. Vader's like, I'm all over this, and there's nothing stopping him away.
Yeah, the fight with him and Luke looks great. Again, lighting wise, I was thinking this still looks cool when they're just in silhouette, and you've just got the blue smoky glow in the background, and you've got the little orange highlights on the steps in the carbon freezing room. It just looks great.
Is that perhaps one of the greatest Star Wars images there? It's just so iconic, isn't it?
I'm standing there, Luke just his lightsaber just ignites slowly. That whole duel, I mean, the highlight for that duel, because it just gets better and better and better, and then where you're thinking Luke's doing quite well, and he's completely outmatched,
yeah,
really.
Well, he's come off
and
half-cocked,
Vader's casually just chucking all that rubbish at him, and then he goes flying out the window.
Yeah,
Vader's just like, I'm just toying with you now.
That's a little hokey, I've got to be honest. It's kind of like someone offset, right, throw a box
Chuck in
at
a
him.
box. I guess so, but in the moment, I was not thinking that. I was just loving it. I was thinking, this is so cool. And I think it's really well... I mean, this whole film is better written than New Hope, because Lawrence Kasdan had his hands on it, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it's better written. There's loads of good lines in it. There's loads of good sparky chemistry in that almost kind of old-fashioned Cary Grant style romantic comedy stuff with Luke and Leia's good. The stuff with Han, the stuff with Yoda. I think the script's loads better. It's a better directed film.
It's a tone darker as well, isn't it?
The pace of it's brilliant. I mean, you never feel distracted when you're jumping over to let's see what Han's doing over here, and let's see what Vader's doing, and let's see what Luke's doing in Dagobah. All of those different things going on in different places, all jumping
works
between them. It's done. I think there's some really great shots in here that are like, poster worthy. Stills that work brilliantly.
I would have hated to have seen all the stop motion changed for CGI. I think it just gives that. I wonder what a younger person would make of that, because CGI, it's obviously stop motion, but I just wonder whether someone would say, okay, that's how Tauntauns walk. They're a bit weird. I don't know if that is a thing. So, Rob, have you got your spreadsheet out ready for ticking off limbs being chopped off? I was like, oh, here we go. Someone's lost his hand now. Classic bit of hand chopping off there. Yeah, Luke's properly outmatched, isn't he?
He gets one hit on him, doesn't he?
Yeah,
on Vader.
And it's not.
There's a bit when
great,
he swings and he hits the rails, and then he gets one hit and it kind of hits Vader's shoulder, and Vader makes like a really cool sound. But then he's just bashed. He's like, right, I've cut you a bit too much slack here now, sunshine. And then he's just blast, lobs his hand off, and shows me he literally is the daddy.
Is the Darth Maul scene meant to be a nod towards this, or is it like, what is it with giant tubes going down, or is it just?
My daughter just happened to walk in near the end of this film when I was watching it, and she said, "I didn't know he chopped his hand off, because he's got a hand in the other film, hasn't he?" So she just
a glove. Yeah.
Also, and I never really thought about this, she sort of laughed a bit when Luke jumps, and she said, "That's quite a fall he's going for there. That's a bit weird." And he falls, and then he kind of floats into a tube.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, as he fell into that, what's actually going on there?" And I thought, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Is he using the Force to control himself down a chute, or what's going on there?
No, I didn't think of that. I thought it was just a little hokey Get Out thing where it's like, so he's falling God knows how fast he's going on there, and then he's sucked out to the sides in one of these, I don't know, ventilation shaft thing, and then somehow that stops the momentum and he's not going there at like 1,000 miles an hour. You know what? It's films, isn't it? It's absolutely fine. I don't like him hanging on to that TV aerial at the bottom there, and he's like hanging on for dear life.
And then there's some new special edition bits there, isn't there, where they filmed Vader leaving and his voice sounds slightly different.
No, I didn't.
Because in the original, because in the original it was just you've seen Vader just watch Luke fall. Then the next time you see him, he's back on his Star Destroyer. So they're fitting those extra bits when you see him striding off. And then you see a shot of him walking into his ship, and you see the ship landing. So it kind of just links it up a little bit that he's gone back to his ship, really.
My wife chuckled at the getting a new hand fitted, and I was like, yeah, that's a good Get Out, isn't it? It's Terminator hand, isn't it?
My daughter just said, well, if they can make a fake hand that well, why can't they just make Vader some fake legs?
Well,
that are just perfectly fine legs. He doesn't need to be in a black suit, does he?
My question for the last 40 years is, we've got snow speeders, why do we need AT-ATs? Why not just a giant, episode 1 troop carrier floating thingy? Who knows? I don't know. Just because,
I like the bit when there's a really nice little moment with Vader where, because he's like super angry, just choking everyone all the time.
Yeah.
And then they think the Millennium Falcon's fine, but then R2 saves the day and it blasts off, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Into hyperspace. And Vader sort of looks away from the window and he pauses and he just gives another look back, and then he walks off, and he looks proper sad and dejected. And all the staff are all like,
"Oh, they're terrified,
aren't they? Yeah, don't say anything." And he walks off, and he's disappointed. It almost feels it's almost like, is it a bit of humanity? Is it a bit of longing that he was hoping to be reunited with his son, possibly to be, take, like he actually says, let's kill the Emperor and let's be father and son. So still turn Luke to the dark side, I guess. But there is a part of him who wants to be with Luke, doesn't there?
I thought there was a certain amount of nodding respect for the fact that they managed to get away with it. And along with a bit of that, he's kind of like looks and he's like, wait a minute, he's on that ship. Oh, they've got I'll give you that one.
Yes,
it's quite well done to you, Rob. I love this. I like this film way more than I remembered. There wasn't a single minute I was going. Oh, actually, when Vader walks away after that scene, then I turned to my wife and I was like, if that was Kylo Ren, he'd be smashing up his room in a minute.
Throwing his toys out the front.
Yeah, having a good old tantrum. No, really, really good. You're exactly right. I've looked at all of my notes for this are all positive. A lot of my notes for the other films are sort of a little bit of Mickey taking and just ripping it apart. Again, with love. It's all Star Wars. But yeah, this we've both given this 10 on our score chart, haven't we?
I think the whole tone of it. I mean, they talk about it's the middle trilogy one. It's when they go dark, but I just feel like the rebels are in trouble. Everything goes badly for them. They've got a new base on Hoth, and then it just gets demolished.
Trashed,
then they're on the run.
Yeah.
And then there's the trap. They get captured. Han's frozen. Luke gets his hand lobbed off. Finds out Vader's his dad. It's all bad news, and it's really building up the stakes against the rebels, ready for the next film, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I loved it.
It was, I totally agree. It was fabulous, and even after the film, I said to my wife, because she's endured the prequels now with me. She likes Solo. She's not a big fan of Rogue One. She thought New Hope was good, and after this, she was like that. I said, there we go. I said that's the high point now, isn't it? That was. So far for me, believe it or not, Rogue One was my highest rated because I just love that. But this, it's a whole dose of nostalgia.
Yeah,
but
it's everything that's good about Star Wars and better, because this is you can love the geeky bit of Star Wars, spaceships and laser guns and light swords and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's that kid element to it that appeals to the child in you still as an adult. But with this one, I think it is well written. I think it is well made. I think it's the best written, best acted of all the Star Wars films as well.
Really, really good.
I think the acting's a bit hokey in New Hope, and this one, I think it's good.
On a side note, another behind the scenes that I heard is apparently George Lucas was like, he let Irving Kershner make this, and apparently when he's finished, he said Lucas was like, "What the hell have you made here? This is not what I wanted." And then apparently on Return of the Jedi, he was an absolute nightmare, and he wouldn't leave set all the time. But in this one, he didn't get what he wanted. But of course, time has shown that it was very, very well done. But yeah, this was absolute gold. There wasn't a minute I had to force myself to stay excited. Thank you.
On that, I think that might have to be the end of the show on that one.
It is. Are you ready for some Ewoks next week and some remember your mother? What was my mother like? I don't remember.
Well, I think we might be back to lists of nitpicks, and
I think so.
Because I remember last time I saw Jedi, I remember feeling disappointed, and this is probably 5-6 years ago. I remember watching it, and it was on telly.
Yeah.
And thinking, this is not good.
All right.
So it'll be interesting.
I remember at the cinema.
What my take on this will be.
I remember at the cinema thinking the speed of chase was almost 3D, the best thing I'd ever seen in my life. We'll have to see next week.
Yeah, well, I loved Jedi at the time,
yeah.
but as older, wiser,
exactly.
We'll see.
Right, folks, if you enjoyed this, please get in touch with us. It's we have been watching podcast at gmail.com. Over on Twitter, it's at WHBW Podcast, and on our wonderful Instagram, Rob's chucking out those black and white images as fast as you can say Hoth. It's we have been watching podcast. Thank you again for joining with us. As I say, let's see if this high point can carry on with Return of the Jedi next week. I do wonder. Well, it's bye from me. Go on, Rob, it's bye from you.
It's bye from me. See you later.
And may the force be with you. Bye-bye.